So whoever's there at Netflix and says, you know what, we want to get hype behind WWE Unreal. It comes out in less than a month and we've only really seen very, very brief clips. We're going to release a trailer. I don't think it's the best idea to release it the day after the trailer for Stranger Things Series 5 drops. I'm just saying, like, people are going to be talking about that. Not to mention, you've got other studios. We've got a Mortal Kombat trailer. We've got a Tron Ares trailer as well. This is one that might be missed by the casual viewer. And yeah, I think that's a weird-ass choice, Netflix. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Ian McQuaid, and today we're talking about WWE Unreal, the behind-the-scenes show that Netflix is airing, showcasing the creative writing room, whatever you want to call it, behind WWE and what is happening there, particularly from some set pieces, some set PLEs, like that kind of vibe. We're going to take a look and do a deep dive into what goes on behind the scenes of WWE, and we are exposing the business to the people. And some wrestlers have very hot takes towards that. Some people, like me, don't really care. So we're going to dive into all this and why, in particular, I don't feel too excited for this show currently. So, before we dive into that, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them as we dive into this, starting with the fact that this show, WWE Unreal, should be made for me. Like, it has everything that I love. I love wrestling documentaries. I love filmmaking. I love just true stories behind wrestling. Wrestling documentaries to me are so interesting because it's such a unique business. It's such a unique platform that getting that peek behind the curtain is really interesting. Dark Side of the Ring in particular, I think, is one of the best sort of series that's ever been produced in terms of pro wrestling. We, of course, had the Vince McMahon docuseries as well very recently, also done by Netflix. So this should be made for me. I should be jumping for joy at the thought of a look behind the scenes of WWE and how it is made, how the sausage is made, one may say. But with WWE Unreal, I think there's a few factors going against it and sort of tempering my expectations and sort of making me a bit abrasive to what I want to see. So first off, the thing that I will address is I don't care about it exposing the business, because we've known for the longest time that this is not real. It's not. It is a performance art. We all know how it's done. Everyone you talk to, they all sort of say, is wrestling fake? You watch wrestling, it's fake. You know, we all know that. So doing a documentary about it, there's been numerous documentaries about it and about the nature of how matches are booked, how matches are played out. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. I think that's completely fine. And there's a lot worse things that can be talked about for this documentary. What is sort of making me not really excited for this, and I think this is, I'll start with the big one of why I don't feel excited for this, is because I feel like WWE has reached a saturation level where I'm just overwhelmed. Like, everything. They have so much content out there that it just feels exhausting to keep up with everything. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, LFG, Evolve, the Level Ups. I don't even know if that's still going. I think that might still be going. The numerous PLEs. There were three PLEs this weekend, and I have watched one of them. I still want to watch some from NXT Great American Bash. I want to see Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page and Inamura versus Obafemi, because they really appeal to me. I really want to see that. But there's just so much. There's so much content and so much saturation that getting another show, despite it having an interesting premise, I can't get excited for it, because I feel like I've seen this a lot. I have seen just a lot of Triple H talking about this stuff, sort of hyperbole and the sort of glamming up the backstage stuff. It doesn't help that a lot of the time when you see like the clips of him in the what's it called, the press conferences, he does come across like an arrogant bastard. So his sort of on-screen presence has really worn me down. Now, Triple H, if you're seeing this, you might not be an arrogant bastard, but you come across an arrogant bastard. So, yeah, that's sort of one aspect of it, is the oversaturation of WWE content and the amount of stuff that they are just churning out day in, day out. And it is just getting exhausting. It's getting overwhelming to focus on one thing, even though it is exciting, like WWE Unreal. One of the other things that sort of makes me stand back a little bit is the WWE involvement in this, because we all know, if you have watched the Monday Night Wars documentary, you know if WWE is involved with the documentary, they don't filter the truth. Sometimes even change the truth, because there have been numerous accounts of this happening within WWE documentaries, WWE produced documentaries. I think that's why, to an extent, that Vince McMahon was a little bit more refreshing, and Dark Side of the Ring sort of has that authenticity to it, is because it's not produced by people who are involved. It doesn't have this sort of filter on it that makes you think, okay, this is what we want you to say. This is what we want you to perceive us as. And that's essentially what this is. It's a peek behind the curtain, but it's not really, because it's WWE allowing you to see what they want you to see. And granted, you can use that for all documentaries pretty much. It is the filmmaker's vision of what they want you to see and what they want you to perceive. The best documentaries are the ones that are told from neither point of view and just give you sort of an objective, here is what happened. But this is not going to be that. This is going to be WWE, Triple H, Nick Khan being like, we're rolling up the curtain, but this is what we want you to see. We don't want you to see any of the other stuff that may be remotely interesting. And that leads to the big sort of enticing aspect of this trailer, which is the shots of The Rock. I think there's going to be a lot of people tuning into this show saying, I want to see what happened with The Rock. I want to see what happened with Travis Scott. I want to see what happened at Elimination Chamber. And I think that using those shots, specifically, there was no sort of talking head of The Rock. I wonder how much involvement he actually has in this. Those talking heads and the shots of The Rock, everyone's going to be intrigued by that. I don't think we're going to get much more information on it other than it was an idea to turn heel, because I don't think that information is going to be put out there to the world. I just don't. And I think that's where I sort of fall down on this in terms of a trailer. I think it's a very surface level trailer. It's very basic. It is very, this is, if you make me a WWE documentary into ChatGPT or some sort of AI system, this is probably the trailer that you'd end up with. And I don't mean that as a slant against the filmmakers. I'm sure the filmmakers are incredibly talented, but it kind of feels cookie cutter and a by the numbers documentary. Granted, there were spots in it that I liked. I liked the stuff about Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. I think that was probably the most interesting bit of the documentary for me. And the CM Punk return, I think, again, that could also be something really fascinating, and seeing how that he's coping to return into WWE from Survivor Series. But yeah, the stuff about the creative meetings and the shots of The Rock and the brief shot of John Cena's face, where, again, sort of enticing you into that, how they turned him heel, what went on with The Rock. I don't think we're going to get a concrete answer for that, and I think that is going to be upsetting. And I think this just boils down to, if we want to look at sort of recent history and recent stuff that the WWE have put out in terms of documentaries, the sort of WrestleMania 41, you know, most of that was probably BS, and a lot of people called it out as BS. So that is where I sort of fall back on. Now, I could be wrong. I would happily be proven wrong and say that this is a fantastic, authentic, gets down into the nitty gritty between Dwayne and Triple H and what went on there, that power struggle. That is what I would like to see. However, I don't think that's going to be what this is. I think this is going to be a very standard, by the numbers documentary. And I think a lot of people are probably getting hyped up for sort of no particular reason, because we've seen WWE documentaries in the past. So overall, on WWE Unreal, I think it has potential to be good, but I am not holding my breath. Yeah. It is what it is, folks. It is what it is. Now, I know that people will probably also say, if you've been watching me long enough, you'll probably say you were a big fan of AEW All Access. But I think the difference there is AEW All Access, didn't necessarily feel like it took itself too seriously. It was more of a reality TV show than a documentary. It was more of, let's follow these people around and see what they get up to in their day-to-day lives. And at that point, when you talk about reality TV, you sort of have your expectations. This is billed as a very authentic sports documentary. I think it's got on the cover, on like the poster, it says like a Netflix sports production or something like that. So yeah, there's sort of two expectations there for AEW All Access and this, and we'll see how it turns out. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you excited for WWE Unreal? Am I just being a grumpy man? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.